you don't even want that problem. You don't even want to see that. That's a nasty. That's a blow. That might be a blowout on Madden potentially. Getting blown out by the Browns. Odell, Landry. Oh, I forgot Antonio Callaway, spark plug, speedster. So I take that back. You can either have Higgins or you can have Callaway. And if I want to go 4 receivers, 1 tight end, oh shit, you got to cover Njoku. So if you don't tackle him with the first linebacker, which athletically you probably not, he gonna break free and he gonna be running through a field full of DBs. Good luck with that. Like, do some shit like that, Odell. But like, just comes to a point where athletes gotta just stop answering media's questions on certain things. Like, that's what I would do every day. I would just turn into the biggest hype man. Yeah, that's me. That I would turn into that guy. I would turn into Ha Ha Davis on him. But anyway, quick sidebar. This is a tangent. Ha Ha Davis is like one of the 3 funniest people in the fucking world right now. First off, like when he literally hyped up Jalen Ramsey's entrance coming out of a Brinks truck to start the Jaguars training camp, his arrival. And Jalen Ramsey is a bad man. And it's like, whew, you got him. It's just hilarious. Like, it's truly hilarious. So, yeah, to get back to wow, that was a tangent inside of a rant, inside of a tangent. But, yeah, back to the whole Giants thing. Just Eli, I'm glad he handled it the way he did. A little diss by Odell. But Odell was right. Like, we were only watching the Giants because of Odell. And then Landry Collins might have been a close second, but all the other corners gave up touchdowns. So, and the linebackers were trash. So, and then you gave up Jason Pierre-Paul. So, when it comes down to it, yeah, Odell was the reason why people watched the Giants from the moment he came to the league. Just go back and look at Eli Manning's stats. His best year statistically was when they had that second Super Bowl, I think, and that's when he had Hakeem Nicks and Victor Cruz and Steve Smith and like a 4th dude in the slot. He put up great numbers, but I think Dominic Hickson. But yeah, it's not really. I'm not gonna lose my mind over Odell saying what he said because it was true, but now it just comes to a point where, like, bro, like, stop talking about your ex. You're the new chick in a better situation that's healthy. Like, stop being so toxic. Save some of that toxicity for the playoffs because that's where the Browns are trying to go this year. Save it for that. Take your anger out on Joe Hayden when y'all played Steelers. Take your anger out on Marlon Humphrey when you played the Ravens. Take your anger out on whoever the hell is that corner for the Bengals now. Kilpatrick? Oh, okay. Good luck with that. But yeah, anyway, also Nick Bosa signed his rookie deal. It's 4 years, $33.5 million. Blase. And on to some college football. Yeah, picture that. Okay, so picture this. All right. Shaquem Griffin and Shaquille Griffin, twin brothers, both played at UCF. Both play for the Seahawks. One's a cornerback. One is a linebacker. They had a very interesting interview. It's ended up on Seahawks Wire, but they ended up talking to Sports Illustrated. They talked about their time as a member when they first got to Central Florida, and the former, technically disgraced head coach, George O'Leary, was the head coach of Central Florida. He forced the Griffins to cut their hair, and that is a huge part of their identity. Now, for what a lot of y'all don't realize is, for people who either have connections to the Gullah Geechee or South Carolina or Florida Like a lot of those black people, they feel like their strength and their power is in their hair, and cutting their hair is a spiritual pain. Like, it's deep. Like, you don't just cut your hair if you come from, and they call them dreadlocks. They're not dreadlocks. They're actually called locks. The Gullah Geechee people and all of them, they call them locks. They were only called dreadlocks by white people when they discovered all those black people. Not discovered them, but when they came across those black people, they're like, "Oh, look at that dreadful hair. It's all tatted and nappy," and it's like, propaganda is a cold piece historically. But yeah. Anyway, so pretty much she forced them to cut their hair while they were in college. Shaquem wasn't playing at the time, so he wasn't really tripping. But Shaquille was trying to get playing time, and they made them pretty much shed their dreads. And it's just really rude and disrespectful. Shaquem said it was very degrading, but it made them stronger for it. Pretty much, O'Leary didn't want their hair sticking. He didn't want anybody's hair sticking out of their helmet. So they said, fine, we'll tape our hair up, we'll wrap it up, put it in our helmet, that way it won't stick out. And he pretty much got mad at them and was like, no, you need to cut it or you ain't going to play. And they cried. They FaceTimed their mom while they were forced to cut their hair, and they were crying the whole time. And their mom felt terrible. And O'Leary was accused by a former coach of making racist remarks. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised because you haven't heard his name since he got fired. No, not fired. I think he voluntarily stepped down, if I'm not mistaken. And the thing that is really messed up is that O'Leary made these two young men cut their hair, and then he resigned like a week later. One, we're fighting. Like, two, me and my brother are stomping you out. Like, what deal? Like, someone we know is stomping you out. Like, that's some degrading shit. And I feel really bad for those two. But it also points to the fact, because I'm about to get in my college football bag real quick. It points to the fact that a lot of these coaches have a lot more control over the lives of these college students who they make millions of dollars of money off of, and they can ruin you before you ever get started. That's what we don't really want to get into, is how, like, even if you're not playing a sport, like let's say you're in journalism, yes, I'm kind of talking about myself a little bit, you could be doing all the right things and still somehow end up getting blackballed by certain people because they don't like you or whatever. You don't dance to, the tune that they play. Like, you don't necessarily, how should I say this? You don't necessarily kiss enough ass. Like, they don't like, it's one thing for you to obey, but it's another thing for you to submit. And some people want you to submit to the things that they're asking you to do or that is expected of you, rather than you just doing your duty and saying, okay, boom, I got it. I'm going to do it. I'm obeying. I'm following the rules. Oh, you want me to obey? You want me to lower myself because it's not enough for you. And unfortunately, in college, it happens. There's probably way more stories like this. Coaches making people cut their hair. I wouldn't be surprised. But it's really gross and it's really racially offensive because, like, black people have a spiritual connection to our hair, and people need to realize that. And I think a lot of people do know that. That's why they try to shame you publicly and try to make you feel like shit when you're out and about. But that's wrong, and it's very disrespectful. Speaking of wrong and very disrespectful, I've been waiting to go on a tangent about this in particular. I'm going to just play this clip. Set it up. Pat Fitzgerald was at the Big Ten Media Day this past week, and he was asked a question about attendance at college football and why he feels like it's, it's not necessarily, how should I put this? Pretty much attendance is low in college football, and here's what he said.
These things.
He's talking about his phone.
I think technology has been the decline in attendance, number one. I think, watching young people today live like this instead of like that. Stacey and I were out on a date last night, and there was two groups of couples sitting next to us, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm old. Like, not one of the four couples were talking to each other. They were all on their phones. And it just drove me up to, I literally wanted to be like a dad and go like, give me your phone, talk to each other. I mean, this is pathetic. So it was really, really pathetic. And I think it's just changed the way a lot of younger people and younger fans intake is all through technology. And I mean, you watch a concert and everybody's holding their phone up. Like, listen, watch, take it in, create a memory. Because they don't go back and watch the videos. They just want to post it on their social media, which is pathetic because it creates a society of, look at me, isn't my life great? Even though when they go home, they're like, I hate myself, I hate my life, everything's wrong. So I think it's a big cause. I think it's the root cause, number one. I think the fans that grew up going and tailgating and the fans that grew up going to the stadiums 4 hours before the games are getting a little older. And I think the next and younger generation of fans are more reliant on technology. They'd rather have 12 TVs set up in their TV watching cave than go to a game and experience the pageantry and the tailgating. So I think it's definitely things that we need to look at as a brand, college football, on how we can maybe create that type of environment and experience while respecting our communities and our neighborhoods to make sure the experiences that are happening don't impede on those neighborhoods.
For those of you who are listening, that might have been a lot. I mean, in my case, felt like a whole lot of bullshit. So, let me see. What's the booing? I laugh at you. I laugh at you from a millennial perspective. Like, you know what? Because this is the first time Pat Fitzgerald said some really off-the-wall, wild, dumb shit. He said RPOs, run-pass options, are the purest form of communism, which kind of just makes me think, who'd you vote for in the last election? Okay. I was just going to save this for my rant, but I can't. I just can't. So, here's what I want people to understand. And what I'm about to say are facts. You can look them up. Millennials, young people, people under the age of like 35, 34. We are in a permanent state of income insecurity, which means we do not have secure income at all. Unlike our parents who had secure income, unlike our grandparents who had secure income, and blah, 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 blah. You get my drift. I was talking to my aunt on the phone earlier, and we were talking about how, like, I told her about the video clip of Pat Fitzgerald and what he said, Northwestern, which is supposed to be and is an incredible academic institution. So for him to say something so stupid and short-sighted and sounds like, oh, let's blame millennials one more time, even though we, which would be our parents' generation, I'm going to say anyone over the age of 40 to like 55, I'm going to go that range. Y'all collectively didn't create an economy that young people can thrive in. So you kind of failed your children as a group. I'm not saying as a group, because as a group, young people are broke unless you're white, privileged, and super rich.